people. You want to go ahead and start with the subject?
Yeah, well, today, first of all, hi, friends. I can't even see who's on here, so this is super exciting. I'm talking to mystery people. Um, let's just do intros.
Go for it.
Okay, um, cool. So I'm Jasmine. If you're my friends, popping in here since I can't see who you are. You already know me, but I guess I don't know what to say. I wanted to kind of find a way to help educate people about mental health related things in everyday life since we don't really have these conversations normally with like friends and family and things like that. It can be a little taboo, a little awkward, a little funky. Um, so we wanted to make a space where we could have those conversations and have no judgment and anything like that. That being said, there's going to be a disclaimer on my end for every episode um, because I am technically a therapist. I'm licensed by the state of California. And so, with that, that just kind of means that I have to let everybody know that this channel doesn't substitute for like professional advice or anything like that. And if, any of our viewers have any serious concerns, definitely go seek professional help. This is just a place to have a discussion, but not necessarily receive like professional mental health advice. Um, Paco's here. Hi. We got no mascot. Paco says,
Paco Cito.
ah. Yeah, that's me.
Um, as far as myself, me and her kind of got into this because I initially just wanted to start streaming to not really feel alone. Um, I feel by myself a lot in my head, and I can't really, I guess, hold friendships too well, just because I don't really know how to put it, but I just feel different than most people. So I felt like streaming in general was kind of like a way for me to get to kind of put myself out there and mingle with people that I can't really see, so there's no pressure necessarily. Um, so initially, I wanted to do like a mental health type of thing to where we just kind of kick it, talk about whatever. And then she had mentioned that she would like to do some streaming as well and have a podcast and talk about mental health. So we kind of came with this idea of just kind of coming together and making this thing, I guess, where we are right now. So, me personally, my name's Deshaun. We'll just keep it at that. I go by Gray Noise, and yeah, today's the first day, so we're gonna see how it goes.
Thanks for hanging out with us, guys.
Oh
Um,
yeah, you can also talk to us in chat. That way, we have some things to talk about.
yeah, I popped a little message in the chat. That's from my Twitch. I'm never on it just to watch people game. I'm not. I'm a fake gamer. I pretend. I play Hollow Knight every now and then, but I
She
don't.
doesn't
I
stream
don't
it.
have as much free time as I would love. So yeah, talk to us in the chat if you guys have any questions or specific topics you want to talk about. It's going to be more structured going forward. Um, but at least for today, we're just kind of trying to get the hang of this, hang out, open up the floor to whatever, probably ramble on, do some weird stuff,
Mm-hmm.
uh, just hanging out.
Oh, your buddy just followed. I forgot what his name was.
Joel,
Yes, Joel. He just followed.
my
It's not his
baby.
name on here. It's MXCA 909.
Yeah, his little randomly generated name that he uses for everything.
Yeah.
Hi,
What's up,
welcome.
Joel?
Also sending me text messages of his bracelet addiction. He keeps buying. Um,
It's all
hi,
good.
Lurker.
Hey, I lurk too, bro. I
Oh,
lurk
sorry.
too.
Sorry. Just kidding. I didn't see him. He said, shh. He said, shh.
Uh,
That's my favorite. Um, so, uh, what do you mean you don't know what I'm talking about? Um, Yeah, so I think one of our first episodes will probably be talking about relationships and mental health. I think that'll be a cool one to go over. We could probably touch on it multiple times, but I think maybe since you already brought it up, we could go ahead and talk about like friendships and mental health if you
we can
want to
do
just
that.
start there. Yeah. handles. Do you want to elaborate on anything that you've already shared?
Not really. At least not right
Okay.
now.
Okay.
I
Cool,
have to
cool.
put my thoughts together because it's a little much.
Right. Um, well, I can kind of go too. I noticed that for me, like it was
Most
always
times.
kind of difficult to make friends and stuff, and I always felt kind of, I don't know, like weird, right? Like kind of unique. Eventually, I learned how to make it a positive thing, but when you're younger, it just you feel kind of like an outcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like right, and I
Yep.
always had a different mindset. I remember being really young, and for example, when I want to say 4. I was in like an after school program. Maybe I was 5. Um, there's actually like a children's care center inside the neighborhood I grew up in, right at the front. So I would go there and, do my own thing. And there's two situations that I very vividly remember. And this is when I kind of learned that I'm like a little bit different than people, I guess. And I don't really know where that came from. Um, the first situation was that I remember these two boys uh, were trying to. They were like two older boys. They were trying to pick on me because I'm mixed. I'm half black. My last name is Smith. So they came up to me and I'm just drawing, minding my business, like the little introvert that I am. And they're like, "Oh, are you related to Will Smith? I bet you can't even spell Will Smith." And like me being the little genius that I am, inside I'm like, "Who doesn't know how to spell Smith? Like, maybe you don't know how to spell." Anyway, um, I remember being that little and just thinking, they're picking on me because they want attention. So if I don't give them attention, they'll leave me alone. And I did that at 4, and they just walked away. And then there, I had a best friend who was also at that child care center. And we would hang out, we would play during our little outside breaks, whatever they were. I don't think they were recess because it wasn't school. And she liked to eat glue for whatever. I know a lot of kids went through that phase where they wanted to eat glue.
Not me.
Not my thing. I'm cool. And she's like, "Oh, you should try it. It's so good." Like that was the age that peer pressure kicked in, and I don't think parents realize that it starts that
Mm.
early. And I remember looking at her, and I'm like, just because she does it doesn't mean that I have to do it. Like I'm not gonna do that. And then, like oddly enough, I had her on Facebook. As we got older, and I went away to college, and I don't really know what she did. We didn't keep in touch, but I just had her on my friends list. And then somewhere down the line, she posted something about being sober for 3 years. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, it was that glue, bro. Like that was glue is the gateway drug. It's not anything else. It was that glue, that Elmer's. You were chewing on it in class. I just wanted to put it on my hand and peel it off and pretend I was a lizard. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was a tomboy. I'm not trying to eat it. Like I don't know. It was just it's really interesting. So I knew from a super early age that my brain was just like different. And then as I got older, it got really hard for me to connect with people, especially girls. There was always this weird pressure I had to connect with girls, and that followed me throughout my life up until these last couple of years. It's just weird. Like I don't know. I was a daddy's girl. I grew up with my brother. I was raised by all my uncles, and yeah, obviously my mom was around, and my my grandmothers raised me too. But I just wanted to be a tomboy. Lo and behold, down the line, I find out I have ADHD, and one of the signs for girls that you may have ADHD. At least this is from my, personal mental health team. They said that you're a tomboy growing up. Now that doesn't mean all tomboys have ADHD, but it could just be a sign because you have more energy, you're more hyperactive, you're more rambunctious, which also makes it hard to connect with girls because typically girls aren't raised to be like that. They're raised to be calmer and more communicative, and typically they're like indoors playing house and things like that. And I'm like outside pretending to be Simba and like climbing trees and rocks and jumping off stuff, and running around barefoot and eating grass like out of the dirt because I wanted to be a dinosaur so bad. Um, and yeah, so it was just interesting as an adult to find out like, whoa, I had been struggling with this diagnosis my whole life. Didn't know it. Nobody caught it because my grades were always fine. My behaviors were fine because I was also a perfectionist. So I didn't want to do anything to get in trouble. And so friendships because of that were always challenging because I couldn't like focus. Like I couldn't pay attention to what women were supposed to talk about. And I just didn't care for it. And I also didn't have the patience to pretend to care about it, which I think was the big thing. Um, and so, yeah, I feel like, at least for me, I got really lucky. And as I started to learn about myself, I was really open with my friends like, hey, I'm learning that these are the things that trigger me. I'm learning that these are the things that affect my mental health. These are the things that make it hard for me to be connected to people because I do have a short fuse. I am very irritable. You know that. You've known me forever and I've been super irritable with you
Yep.
too. Like I just I couldn't help it. And I didn't want to be that way. And I remember fighting myself constantly like why am I like this? But then the feelings build up so intensely. I couldn't help but have to like push it out somewhere. Which obviously doesn't make you a good friend. You're not easy to get along with,
Yeah.
right? And if you don't have somebody telling you where those feelings are coming from, you can't ever like address them.
Yeah.
So much better now, thank goodness. I have the education that I do. I have the access to resources that I do to tackle my mental health head on, and I feel that it's making me a better friend. Um, I see Joel in the chat. Yeah, Joel, you're here. You can testify, but let me know if I'm being a better friend or not. I don't know. I feel like I am. I feel like I've calmed down a lot. I've got a clearer head. I've got a better sense of what's going on, and it's helping me to really understand how to be the loving person that I want to be for the people who've stuck by me. Like you've been here with me for what, 11 years now? No, longer than that, huh? 2009 ish.
I think. Yeah, I'd say probably
So,
around there. So I'm trying to remember.
how come I can't do math right now? That's what, 12 years? Almost, depending on what
5
month.
messages. Goddamn.
I don't know. Um, oh, Joel. Thanks for the thumbs up,
Sorry,
Joel.
man. I still gotta mess with that a little bit. I kept it to where
Yeah.
you can't spam anything.
Joel, he's okay. Thank you for the affirmation, right? Joel gives me thumbs up. I'm getting better, guys. I'm doing it. Mental health helps you keep your friends, right? Except
Yep.
for the crappy ones. We don't want those.
Yep. I
So,
guess now that you've said what you said, I kind of thought of a few things.
mhm.
At least as far back as I can remember. I think it started in elementary school. Um, I was going through a lot around that time, but I can't really recall too much. Kind of developed this habit of kind of deleting memories as time goes. Um, and when I was younger, I remember I used to. I didn't really have any friends. I didn't know how to talk to people. So and I would actually hang out every time it hit recess. I would hang out under this slide and I would just sit like Indian style and just put my head down and then take a nap till the bell rang, then go to class. And there was this one uh, supervisor. Her name was Patty. She used to come by and she asked me like, "Why do you just sleep and sit under the slide?" And I was like, "Well, I don't really have any friends. I don't know what else to do, so this is what I'm doing." So and she put me in the most awkward situation. I mean, I give her credit because she tried, but it was a super awkward situation. She found this group of girls and was kind of like, "Oh, well, like, you guys want to hang out with him?" And I'm like, "What am I supposed to do?" So then they were like, "Yeah, he could chill with us." So I was basically just sitting there. They were just talking about girl stuff the whole time. And I'm just like, I would much rather just be back under that slide, taking a nap until the bell rings. But I ended up having some classes with them, and they kind of just like they were like my friends, but not really. They were just kind of like there for me the whole time. Um, So in class, they would be my partners and things like that. And every time lunch came around, I was talking a little bit more and more, but it was still awkward. Um, and that's kind of where I started talking a little bit more, started getting more friends. And then I was a huge gamer. It's not like it stopped now, but um, I was a huge gamer back then, and that was kind of like my escape. I would be up for hours. I wouldn't use the restroom or anything. I wouldn't go drink water. It was just fucking gaming the whole time. So um, because of that, I ended up meeting some friends who were also gamers, and they kind of showed me a few games that I got into, like Sonic, um, not the old school ones, the newer school, and what else was there? Guitar Hero, games like that. And once I started hanging out with them more, they started bringing more of their friends around, and that's when I really started seeing like I don't like people. Some people are just they're too much. They try to prove themselves in the wrong way. And me, I'm more laid back, and it's like you don't have to prove anything. Just be yourself. Um, and the people that they would hang out with were kind of like, "Oh, I'm better than you at this." It's like you probably are, and if you are, cool. Like, it is what it is, man. You don't have to sit there and brag about it. But everything was like this unnecessary competition, and it kind of brought out a different side to me that I wasn't a huge fan of. Um, because I didn't like the way these people were. It was just kind of like, all right, well, you want to be like that, I'm gonna be like this then, and then see how you like it. So the friendship kind of there really wasn't one. It was just like I was cool with them because my friends were cool with them, so we just kept it like that. And after a while, I want to say it went from elementary school up until I want to say high school. I don't remember if it was freshman or sophomore year. It was one of those two. And I was just kind of tired of the bullshit. And there was one day that I was chewing on a piece of gum and I tossed it and it landed on one of the guy's bags. And then he went and grabbed his bag and he seen it on there. And he was like, "Yo, take that off." I'm like, "Take what off?" He's like, "It's a piece of gum." I'm like, "Bruh, just fucking smack it off. It's a piece of gum. Like, why are you tripping on it?" He's like, "Take it off." I was like, "Are you trying to make a problem out of this? Like, just take the piece of gum off, bro." Um, so I think at that time I went to go get my lunch. When I came back, my original friends and their friends were gone. It was just like my little crew. It was me and my brothers and our little group of friends. Um, and then I want to say it wasn't the same day. It was like a couple days later. I used to draw a lot when I was younger. I used to draw like characters and things like that. But as I got older, it turned more into like words, just put a different style on words and things like that. But I noticed that the drawing that I had was kind of like crooked. So I tried to move it, it wouldn't move. I was like, why is it not moving? So I tried to pull it out, and the piece of gum was stuck to the back of that. And to me, I was like, that was disrespectful because this is a piece of art that I made, and he ruined it by putting that piece of gum in there. So I was like, all right. When I was younger, I used to be really bad with this revenge thing. I still kind of carry it now, but
I
I've
was
toned it.
there.
Yeah, I've toned it down quite a bit. Um,
True.
so I took a day or so to really think about how I'm gonna get them back in a way to where it's like I should have never have done that. Um, so I had an idea. I was like, cool, this is exactly how I'm gonna execute it. Just like they did, they waited till I went and grabbed my lunch. So I was like, cool, we're just gonna kick it for a bit and just chill. They went to go get their lunch, and I was like, cool. Actually, no, no, no. Scratch that. First thing we did was go get lunch. That was the very first thing we did. We didn't waste any time. Went and got lunch. Came back, and then they're like, "Yo, can you guys watch our stuff?" I was like, "Yeah, we could watch it." So when they went in to go get their lunch, in that time, I took a burrito. I had stolen the second one. I should probably shouldn't say that, but I stole a second burrito just for this
That was
occasion.
cool.
Um, Opened it up, took a bite out of it, put some hot sauce on it, and then opened up his gym bag because he used to be in basketball, and I smeared it all over everything, shoved it in there, zipped the bag up, and I was like, cool, we're good. Just ate my stuff. They came back. It was like nothing ever happened. We're just talking, chilling, and then bell rang. We all went to our classes. Fast forward to the next day. Someone was like, "Hey, yo, um, that's fucked up what you did." And I was like, "Fuck is that fucked up? I got him back." What's up, Emilio? Um, I was like, why am I fucked up? It's like I was paying him back. He was like, he couldn't even practice because his clothes were all messed up. So he just sat on the bench watching them practice. I was like, good. He fucking deserves it. If you want to mess with somebody thinking that there will be no retaliation, you've already messed up. You need to respect people as a person, as if it was yourself. You treat people how you want to be treated. I'm not saying that I was in the right for spitting my piece of gum and it just happened to land on his bag, but from the way he approached me, he could have just been like, "Hey, could you like please get it off or don't do it again," and just shake it off his bag. It wasn't like it was stuck to his bag. It was a ball of gum landed on there. He could have just shook his bag, came off. But he made this whole thing out of it. I had to prove a point. Um, but with that being said, that's where I realized that the friendships or the people that I choose to deal with aren't necessarily, it's not a mutual thing. To me, it's like if I feel like dealing with you, and I don't mean it in a mean way, but just like if I feel like I can deal with you, then we can be friends. When it comes to hanging out with people, I I don't like to. It's only under certain conditions. Like if I'm in a good mood, like I'm cool with whatever, but most times I'm not. So my friends, they don't hit me up as much as they used to, um, because before I was kind of somebody that I wasn't, in a sense. I was putting on a show of this outgoing person when I'm really not an outgoing person. Um, so anytime I'd like go out to drink or something, like of course when you drink, there's liquid courage. You kind of don't care. You just go with the flow. Um, but that was my get by. Like if we're going out, we're gonna drink, and that's gonna basically break me out of my shell for the night. If there was none of that, like if we were just gonna go kick it at somebody's house, to me it's awkward as hell. Like I don't know what to do. We could be sitting there, we're gonna watch a movie. This movie's boring. I'm not a movie person at all, so we're just gonna sit there and I'll just watch this movie for the next 2 hours. Don't really talk because you don't want to miss anything on the movie, so we're just gonna sit here and kick it. I can't do that. Haven't been diagnosed for it, but I'm pretty damn sure I have ADHD. The vibes be real different depending on who you're around. That is 100% true. Some people they're not really all there. They're just kind of like, I guess, kind of like me. They're putting up a front. Um, I put up a front just because I don't know how to explain it. There's a song that I've been listening to. But basically, I hate being alone, but it's hard for me to get close to people in general. So it's just I'm in this awkward limbo of like I'll put myself out there to see how far I can go. Um, I've had some friends that were fake, um, and who weren't really down. They were just kind of like using you in a sense. I mean, you know how like there's kickbacks. It's like, hey yo, come over to my house. I got beer, this, and that. They come over and kick it. Um, and then when you stop having those, they stop hitting you up.
Mm-hmm.
I've had those kind of friends. Um, Both of y'all run this podcast. Yes, we do. It's a partnership. Um, so yeah, I have been in that situation. I do have good friends that I still talk to now that I've been friends with for years, and they kind of respect it as far as they kind of respect it as far as like they know that I prefer to be by myself. Whenever I hit them up, it's like, okay, he's cool to kick it. Um, and I'd say there's probably a solid 3 friends that I have that I'm like that with. Um,
Right.
but in general, when it comes to friendships, like talking to new people, I'm hella weird. I don't know what to say. Like especially if it's a one-on-one thing,
Yeah.
dates, friendships, out and about, and someone just starts up a convo. Like I don't know what to do. Like you know, talking about something, I'm gonna answer your question, and that's all I got. That's all I got. She looked
That's
Dominican.
true. That
Jazzy, go on and hit him on what you are.
Half black, half white. What's up?
Same.
Ayo, mixed babies. Woo-woo.
um, just to give you a
Yeah,
little background, Emilio. We've been friends for like 10 or 11 years, somewhere around there.
I think 12 now.
Yeah, maybe even 12 now. So yeah,
Yeah,
we had a little introduction earlier. You missed it, bro.
yeah. Where you at? Catch us on YouTube.
Almost the
Famous
same
one.
thing. I mean, it's a race off, but yeah, it's almost the same thing.
No, culturally, it completely different culturally.
Yes.
Um, very much so. But
Hmm.
you know what? I wonder if that's part of it too. I mean, because we're like talking about your difficulties with like making and keeping friendships. That's what I see a lot of the people I work with go through is
Hmm.
like struggling to keep friends. And if you have it's kind of it's
Excuse
helpful
me.
and it's not helpful at the same time. Like there's always this temptation to self-diagnose, right? And like if you don't, first of all, even as someone who can diagnose other people with supervision, uh, don't have my full license yet, guys. It's okay, almost there. um the number one thing they tell you when you go to school
Don't
for
worry
this
about it,
kind of
Emilio.
thing is like, what's up? Is
You could watch the VOD after, if anything.
don't uh don't self-diagnose. Don't try to diagnose your family. Don't try to diagnose your friends. Don't try to diagnose yourself because we're given all the tools to do it. But as soon as you have that bias of like, I know you personally, or I know myself personally, I know how I am, or you're just like naturally an overthinker, you're going to look into everything and be like, oh my
Hmm.
God, I have these 13 diagnoses. And it's like, no. There's so much like overlap. But I think where that comes tied in with friendships is that when we're little, like we're not taught that, right? Like our grandparents' generation is the generation that was shamed for bringing up mental health, anything. Um,
And I think
our parents,
also along with that, they didn't quite understand it, so they seen it
yeah,
as like a weakness in a sense, um,
right,
and
right.
that you
Well,
were lazy or you're not the same like everybody else. Just be the same like everybody else. Stop being like that.
yeah. And there was different priorities at that time too, right? Because our grandparents kind of like lived through more of like this sort of post-war era,
Yeah.
and the priorities were completely different. So now I think we actually have the luxury of having this conversation and opening it up. And the generations under us are super open about it. Like I get to work with these kids, and they are so educated. They are so attentive to themselves and what's going on in the world around them and how it affects them and their mental health. And they're not afraid to be open. Um, it's the coolest shift in culture that I think I've seen. But for us, we got kind of caught in this weird little transitional stage where it went from being shameful to our parents, where they were raised that it was shameful, but then they started to see more of like this research and more of this conversation kind of come out and happen around them. And then our generation still, like, we weren't really taught about it from a young age, but then as we got older, it was kind of normal for our friends
Yeah.
start to have those conversations and start to think about those sort of things. And we were the generation that kind of developed with technology. So as we grew, as we got older, we had more and more information just kind of at our feet. So we could start to figure these things out. But the issue with that is we're not prepared to handle friendships with other people who have different diagnoses. We're not prepared to be accepting. We're not prepared to be patient and not educated enough to handle the different symptoms and things that come with these diagnoses. It's very challenging because we're not going off of anything. It's like, oh, that person's so mean. They always snap at me. And it's like, well, irritability is a sign of depression. Your friend might just be sad and lonely and have this diagnosis where they can't control those different moods. And because we're not prepared to handle it, that person continues to go through life feeling misunderstood and unsupported. And that's not cool for them either. Um, Not to say that we should just accept whatever comes at us because we have to protect our energy too, but we're missing a piece.
Yeah.
right? And so it's just hard. Like, how are people going to be friends with you and truly understand you? Like, you have your few friends who do and who are willing to kind of get to know you and get to know what you need as an individual. But as far as like the general population, that's not the goal. The goal is fit in. The goal is look like these famous people, look like these influencer, buy all the things that they buy, and
Yep.
make sure you look good, and make sure people pay attention to you, and make sure you end up with some like rich guy so he can take care of you, which is exactly
From a
what my grandma
female's
said
point of
to
view,
me.
let's just clarify that real quick.
What?
You said end up with some rich guy. I was like, this for the females or the other person's
Yes, you
point
can
of
have a
view.
sugar mama, right? And I will have some rich. Speaking from personal experience, my grandmother would be like, make sure you end up with somebody rich so he can take care of you. And I'm like, it just that culture shift again between generations.
Mm-hmm.
We got like caught up in the middle of it to where we're just now becoming prepared to support each other with
Yeah.
our mental health now. And I think it's like 1 in 4 people who have some sort of mental health diagnosis. Like, that's a massive amount,
25%.
massive amount.
Yep.
And but where's our education?
We don't have
Why aren't
any.
we, unless you specifically go to school for it and
Mm-hmm.
spend lots of money that I'm not going to see ever
Yeah,
again?
you would have to. You mean at this for a long time, but yeah,
seven
it's
years
not.
guys, of extra schooling out of high school. Woo
Yeah, it's
woo!
not something that's like readily available to you, which is quite sad. I mean,
Yeah,
that kind of goes for a lot of other things like financial advice and whatnot to prepare you for whenever you
absolutely.
become an adult. They don't have that
Yeah,
type of thing. Um,
right.
the education system doesn't. It's not exactly what you need. It's what they think you need, and
Yeah,
that's something we do need to reform. But that's a whole different conversation.
we can get there. We can get there one day.
Yeah.
We'll dive into the education system, but
Yeah.
like the school pays me for my work, so like let's not let's be careful because I'm not trying to lose my paycheck.
Well, what you're doing is different. I'm saying like just when you're going through your K through 12, everything they teach you is not necessarily things you need to know.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
kind of like supplemental to your life. Take these classes so we can get paid and you know a little something something.
Yeah, speaking of that, I was talking to one of my friends, sidebar,
Mm.
uh, but she really loves history. And she was like talking about it. Full disclosure, she's white. Um, and she loves history and she's talking about it. And I'm like, oh my God, like I hate history. And she kind of looked at me a little weird. Like, what are you talking about? But for us, it's like when we're taking something as basic and as general as American history class, it's not like, whoa, this is how our country was founded, how cool. It's like, it's a whole entire class about how everybody hated black people. Why would I like that class? What part of this is cool? Like, why am I being, it's good to
Yeah,
know. I'm not saying it's not important. I personally don't like history,
I don't
but
either.
it's just those different perspectives, like the
Mm.
school system is like everybody needs to know American history. It's the great story of our country. And then the black kids in the class are like, do I need counseling after this class? Because you're just telling me that everybody hates me. Like when I was little and I found out I was half black, I kid you not, I went home and I bawled my eyes out because I didn't know why, but I
Mm.
knew it was supposed to be a bad thing. And
Hold
I
on.
was,
Thanks for the follow, Slided.
thanks, guys. Um, yeah, I don't know what it was, but like, and I was really little, like
Mm.
elementary school little, and I was like, whoa, I'm black, like that's a bad thing. And even still as an adult, I have no idea where that is from. I have no idea how that it wasn't from my parents.
Mm.
Uh, and it's just like it's so weird. Like that in and of itself is like kind of traumatizing, and you're going through these experiences, or we're going through, or myself, I can't speak for everybody, but
Yeah.
I went through that experience at such a young age that I came into this world. I had a few good years where I was carefree and like, you know, crawling around pretending to be a dinosaur, eating leaves out of the dirt. Like, life is great, guys. I'm a brontosaurus. And then immediately, like a couple years later, boom, my life just kind of gets chopped down, and it's like, wait, you're black, and that's a bad thing in this country. So have fun seeing the rest of your life through this lens. And we don't address that either.
Yeah.
And then we go into like history classes and stuff. I remember I stopped doing the like Pledge of Allegiance when I was like 9. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And the teacher would glance at me, and I'd like kind of pretend to my heart, but like I wouldn't exactly do it because I was trying to be rebellious.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to get in trouble because I hated it. But I just remember thinking like, you're not gonna brainwash me into like thinking this is a cool thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. And I do respect our country in a sense, and like some of the values we have and the opportunity we have is phenomenal, but at the
Yeah.
same time that doesn't mean I have to blindly believe that everything is perfect and that I need to just like deal with it the way it is or get out of the country. And I feel like a lot of the older generation that, well, if you don't like it, leave. And it's like, no, that's not what we believe in. We believe if you don't like something, change it,
Yeah.
fix it, make it better. That's what this world and this lifetime is. So anyway, I don't know how I got off on all those tangents, but yeah,
It's all good.
um, it's a trip. It's a trip. We go through so many things as kids that aren't addressed unless we seek the information ourselves. And that is implying that we even have the tools to seek that information, which not everybody does. So then what do? Like, you keep living through your life, like going through the motions, just kind of on autopilot, not
Yeah.
really ever feeling happy or fulfilled because nobody's coming to you and saying, hey, you know, it seems like you're struggling with this, and here are the resources, and they're easily available to you, and they're easy to afford. And, like, you know, that's not the case. And it's making it hard for so many people to just have a happy life. And that's
Mm-hmm.
not how it should be at
Yeah.
all.
It's it's very hard to have a happy life, especially when you don't have the tools or the help to help guide you. Me personally, I have a problem with trusting people as it is. I've been through quite a bit. Some things I can't put publicly. Um, some things I can. I'd rather say it on my own stream because there's some legalities that she has. So I don't want to go too far, but um, I do have my own Twitch stream where I kind of talk in game. It's twitch.tv gr3y underscore noyz. Um, at some point in time, I'll talk about some on there, but I don't trust people in general. I feel like everybody has an ulterior motive, um, whether it be like they're gonna use it against you or something like that. Um, there's people that I put trust into and they've flipped the whole script on me. Um, so I kind of learned my lesson from that. But when I tried to break out of that and get some actual help, see a therapist and whatnot, I don't know if it's because they were low budget or what the deal was, but it just seemed like I was in a support group. I wasn't getting any actual help. They were just kind of like, oh, well, just don't think about it this way. Think about it like that. Like, no, that's not how it works. I mean, it's like telling somebody, um, don't stress on it. You'll get paid. Don't stress on your bills. You'll get paid eventually. You'll be able to pay them. Like, that's not going to fix my situation.
Right, right.
um, so with the therapist that I've had, they didn't help. They were just kind of saying, don't think like that, or it's not as bad as it seems like it is. Maybe it's just your job. Maybe it's just this. Maybe it's just that. Try changing it. And it's like, changing jobs ain't easy. There's the
Right,
transition. There's a time where you don't get paid. It's not smooth. Um,
right.
so there's that as well. But for me, she she has a solid point. Um, you don't want to self-diagnose yourself, but I trust myself more than anybody else.
Right.
Um, so when I go and get help, I feel like people are more likely to waste my time. I mean, they're gonna get paid regardless, but I'm wasting my time and money by putting that faith into somebody else, thinking that they're actually going to help me, and they don't. Now, I'm not saying you should not trust anybody. Some people are well mannered. They want to actually help you. For example, Jazzy. She wants to help people. There are some good people out there that actually do care about your mental health, and there are others that just go to work to get paid. Um, but it doesn't just happen in a day, and it's kind of a long process. I don't have the patience for that. But you're gonna have to go through a few people, and see who you can vibe with and who actually gives a damn. Um, like I said, I just don't have the patience, so I kind of just pay attention to myself and just kind of change myself as I go. It's a lot for one person to handle. It's easy to put it off on somebody else, and you kind of take whatever advice they give you and you work on that part while they think about things for the next time you see them. It's like, hey, put some thought into it, by the way. Here's some suggestions. Here's a quick analysis of what we spoke of last time, and kind of help you out that way. Um, I never had that personally. It would be nice to have, but um, yeah, that'll come in time. For the meantime, I'm kind of just doing this solo.
Right. Well, I mean, I think that that's fair too, and you have to you have to even get to a place where you're ready to open up to somebody else. And
Mm,
that's the same thing with friendships and any relationship, because again, like working with a therapist is just a different type of relation. Like you have to have a certain level of connection to even be ready to open up. Like you're not going to want to meet a stranger and dump out all your deepest, darkest secrets to them just because of their job title. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And I'm hyper aware of that, which is why I come in and like I get to work with kids. So for me, it's different. It's way more fun. It's a little bit more laid back. And I try to go in with just like this really relaxed attitude. And sometimes, like, I'll even tell them, like I'm not here to treat you like a little kid. I'm not here to pretend I'm going to solve all your problems, but what I am here to do is help you figure out what your goals are and then just gently help guide you in the way that you want to go. And that's I'm very biased about how mental health is like implemented and the things that are need adjusting in the field. Um, we can get to that later. That's a whole other topic. But again, it is building a relationship. You do have to sometimes go through a few people to find somebody you click with. But the other thing that I was thinking of when you were talking is that there's also like an element of culture, right? Like if you are Hispanic or if you are Black or, you know, some other, quote unquote minority group and you're working with some older white person, right? Like there's this big culture gap
Mm-hmm.
where, like you said, if you are having a hard time with your job and you don't like it, and it's clearly the thing that's contributing to your depressive symptoms, or it's just making you unhappy and you feel stressed out going to work, whatever it is, and somebody's like, okay, well, if this is the problem, just change your job. But you're not taking into consideration the different cultural things that come with that,
Yeah.
including like what's your socioeconomic status. Like if I'm already kind of like in a lower income situation and it was hard for me to get this job in the first place,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's making you happy or not, you needing food on the table takes priority over having a job that you like. And
Yeah.
if you don't have somebody who's aware of those differences just amongst human beings in general, they're going to skip right over that part and be like, well, just change it, bro. Like, hello, solution. And it's like, well, yeah, that would be nice. However,
Mm-hmm.
there's all these other things that are involved in it. And yeah, I mean, as long as you feel like you can be safe and manage what's going on for you, there's nothing wrong with just trying to learn yourself first. Because when you go into that like therapeutic relationship, ideally, and depending on the circumstance, but ideally, your whoever's working with you is going to treat you like the expert, right? Because, like, for example, if you're seeing a therapist they meet with you like 15 minutes a week and check in and try to help you organize your thoughts and try to help you kind of like develop a clear plan of how you want to reach your goals or whatever. They shouldn't be acting like they have all the answers for you in your life, because they're not the ones living with you. They know about like 15 minutes a week of what your life looks like. And you're the one living in your head, in your body, day in and day out. Like, you're the expert on what's going on in your body. But when we're wrapped up in our heads too much, or we're wrapped up in our feelings too much, or we have these elements of what's going on for us that are uncontrollable, with a formal diagnosis or not, it's hard to make clear decisions. And that's what that therapeutic relationship is for. Like, help me detangle your thoughts, and let's draw some like clear lines of what these things actually mean. Where are they coming from? What are they triggered by? Are they helping you? Are they hurting you? What things are going to help you reach your goals, and how do we start to build more of those positive things into your life, like in your daily routine. That's ideally what the goal is. And so of course that's a lot to ask for from somebody else. It's definitely overwhelming to try and do by yourself. Like, you can, of course you can.
It is
It's
a
just
lot.
exhausting.
It's a
It's
lot.
exhausting.
It's a lot.
Even for me, like, I've always just been so irritable, and my parents were always like, "You're just being a teenager. You're
Mm-hmm.
just like your father. She's so strong-willed, like you're just stubborn." But inside it felt horrible. Like, it just felt terrible all the time. And then I got older and I'm like, I had all these red flags for depression, and you didn't even tell me. You just let me suffer. I was listening to like Papa Roach and all this like
Mm-hmm.
screamo rock music in my room 10 hours a day. Just like, I don't want to talk to anybody, like all gothed out. And I know I look a little bit like today, but it's not the same. Now it's like, oh, it's trendy. But back then it was just like, I don't want to wear tight clothes. Like, I hate myself.
Yeah.
It was so much heavier, and nobody caught it for me. And then I caught it for myself. And it took like years and years and years and years of repeating the same crappy pattern for me to finally just be like, I have had enough. Somebody else tell me what's going on. I know I'm smart. I know I'm capable. I know I have all the coping skills in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I drink tea. I don't overdo it with caffeine. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I barely even drink. I do yoga all the time. I get a good sleep. I put my phone down 2 hours before bed and read myself to sleep. Like, every coping skill you can think of, like, I'm on it. And I still was suffering with something. And it took somebody outside of me to, like, hey, this looks a lot like ADHD. And never a single second in my life would I have guessed that that's what was going on. And I think that's the benefit of having somebody outside looking in. But again, you have to trust them. And that doesn't happen overnight. It's not going to happen in the first session or first two sessions. So it just, again, it's a journey, and you have to know yourself first before you go in there. Because you're also kind of going to have to know if you need to draw a line. Like, sometimes your therapist could be wrong, and what they're seeing, what they're thinking isn't right. And if you know yourself well enough, you can be like, actually, that doesn't really feel like what's going on. Can we talk about this more? Like, let's dive deeper into it.
It's kind of the same thing when you go and see a doctor and you need a prescription for
Mm-hmm.
medication. I mean, there's going to be side effects that you have, and it's kind of like, nah, this ain't it, doc. And then they just got to switch it up. It's basically the
Yeah,
same thing.
exactly. Yeah, it is. Um, and again, like, it's a journey. And so if you're not prepared to go through that, and you're like, it's already scary enough to reach out for mental health, because everybody's like, oh my God, what do you need a therapist for? What's wrong with you? And like, parents have this terrible habit, not all of them, but quite a few of them have this awful habit of taking it personally.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not a bad parent. I didn't do, there's nothing wrong. Fine. You just need to get over it. You need to do this. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, please hold. This is not about you. It's not about you.
Yeah.
And I think parents struggle with that, where if something's going on with their kids' mental health, they immediately feel like it's a personal shortcoming. Sometimes you're just born and your brain chemistry is funky, and
Yeah.
there's you can't fix that just by having a positive attitude, like peace
Yeah.
and love. That
I mean, along with that as well, I mean, there's some, with the way that I think and whatnot, I have some of the problems that my mom has. I don't really talk to her as much now, but some
mm,
of the things that she goes through, I also have. Um, so that is also a cause for certain things like mental health issues, if you want to call them issues. That it can be a genetic type of thing to where you're
uh-huh.
just born with it because one parent had it. Um,
Yeah.
Me personally, I think I got the worst of both worlds. So the whatever bad traits that one of them had or both of them had, I just ended up with both. Um, that's just my own perception of the situation. It may be different, but
Mm.
that is also another thing as well.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely, for some things, there's a
Yeah,
genetic factor. Not
yeah,
all
yeah,
of them.
yeah. Not everything. Not
Obviously,
everything.
like, you can't inherit trauma. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, for sure, there's definitely a genetic factor. The other thing to be careful with, though, is that it could be a genetic factor. It could also just be learned behavior. Like, if
Yeah,
when you're little, we're designed to imitate what we see around us, especially from our caregivers from like a certain age gap. And then once you turn 4 or 5, then that switches and you start to follow your peers more and you want to learn from them more than you like. Um, but there's definitely a genetic factor, and that's why I think like but there's guilt associated with that on the like on a parental side of things. It's like, oh my god, like I'm the reason you're like this. Like you
yeah.
got this from me and I know that, and so I feel terrible and I failed because you wouldn't be having this problem if it wasn't for me. But at the same time, like,
You can still be there for them. You don't have to just be
yeah,
like, "Oh, I messed up. It is what it is. They're on their own now." You
right,
still have the
right.
opportunity to help them out and be there for them, so they're not by themselves entirely.
Yeah. Well, and even too, like if your parents like go through their own kind of journey and they can kind of like give you a head start, right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, I understand that. I know what you're going through. Here's what I did about it.
yeah,
Whether it was the right or wrong answer, kind of just sharing and being honest with
mm,
that journey. Like, hey, this is what I've struggled with, and this helped me out, so maybe it'll work for you. And sometimes it can be that easy, and sometimes it's not, and that's okay too.
yeah,
But yeah, our brains are such like tricky, temperamental, funky things. Like it's so weird. I took like one class that really focused on neurobiology, and I am by no means an expert on any of this stuff, but I did love that class because we got to learn like how to. Are you trying to fix your focus?
yeah. I didn't realize it was out of focus till right now.
Oh my god, where are we going? Um, Dang, that's a clear hand. There it is.
There we go.
Yeah. Um, what? Heyo.
Uh,
I don't remember.
Me
Yeah,
neither.
so get it together. It's cool. But again, generational shifts are a trip. Brains. I was talking about
Oh yeah,
brains
yeah, yeah.
and neurobiology. My bad, guys. Um,
We back, we back.
yeah, we figured it out. Yeah, it's just crazy how, especially at certain ages, our no sir, uh, back in the day, I'd have been like, oh my god, you think so?
uh,
We'll get to that. Hold
yeah,
on.
we'll get to that.
Pause. Um, yeah, our brains are so adaptable, and they're growing and developing for the first like 20 odd years of our lives. Um,
Just keep talking.
You know, I can't. I see you look at the chat, and I want to see you part of the discussion, guys.
uh, it's all good, man. It's all good. I mean,
There
if you
you
want,
go.
we can tell you the story. I guess if you want.
Do we have to? Because
We
that's
don't
like
have to. We don't.
that story doesn't make me look good. I don't like it.
That's true. Yeah, we won't go there. We won't.
Sidebar. Later,
I guess we'll
private
just say
conversation.
Ben there almost did that.
Like, not really. We're like,
Yeah.
ooh, how about no, no, I don't
Yeah,
think
pretty
so.
much.
Like, ooh, what about no, no, I don't think so.
uh,
Good times.
yeah,
What a
yeah.
journey.
Not really
No,
good times, but
not good times, but
nah.
I'm glad you're still here. Um, what? Woo!
Emilio
What is
distracted us
that?
over here.
Um, and it's because it's neurobiology. It's really hard to stay on track.
Yeah, true that.
But yeah, our brains are still developing for like so. This is what I've learned. I'm not sure if the research has changed or will change in the future. We don't know too much for sure about this life. You know, scientists are just constantly trying to figure those things out, but it changes pretty often. So, from my current understanding, our core personality traits are pretty much set in by the time that we're 5, which is really early. But and that's just like the core of who we are, not necessarily our whole personality, right? Because we still have tons of life left to live, hopefully, um, past that point to like learn and grow. But the core of who you are, like pretty much what your central values are as a little human being, are kind of set in by that point. But then the more logical part of your brain is developing up until like your mid 20s, right? So that's a lot of flexibility we kind of have. And so, depending on what kind of experiences and relationships and things that you have in that time frame, it can have more of an impact on how your brain develops. Which, if you go through like traumatic experiences, and I was talking to someone about this earlier, it really can, depending on the experience, the intensity, how long the trauma went on, if it was reoccurring, if it was just one situation, it can really change the way your brain physically develops and functions, um, from a neurological perspective, which means it can adjust the way that your brain sends out signals and the way that your brain handles certain situations. So, for example, if you go through a lot of trauma and it's like ongoing, your brain can start to develop more of your stress hormone that kind of gives us that fight or flight response or freeze. There's a third part now. And so when you're met with a trigger where somebody else who didn't have those past experiences will look at it and, okay, well, this is a little concerning, but logically I can handle this. Somebody who's been through those other like traumatic experiences, whose brain has changed or developed a little bit differently, may be quicker to have this like fight or flight or freeze response when somebody who didn't have those experiences isn't reacting that same way. Sometimes, because our brains are developing for so long, there's a lot of to also kind of, I don't want to say reverse, but like kind of amend, I guess, the way that your brain developed by like just repeating a more positive pattern and like reteaching your brain, like, hey, this is a trigger for me. What we're going to do is respond this way and find the tools to get back into that logical space, because you can't use the primal part of your brain, which is that fight, flight, or freeze response, and the logical part of your brain at the same time. You can't. It's
Yeah.
one or the other. And somebody who's been through traumatic experiences is going to lean more on that primal part of the brain because it's there for protection, and it's also partially out of our control, where the logical part of our brain is very much like, what is my personal thought process and how do I want to respond to this as the individual that I am, and the other part, something's attacking us, we need to stay safe. Are we going to beat it up? Are we stuck here? Are we going to run away? Like, which one is it, guys? I need to make a decision. And it's hard to live that way because that stress hormone also damages like everything else in your body. Um, just talk to my back muscles. Let's see. Um, but yeah, just, I mean, that's one of those situations too where it's not necessarily genetic and like therapy can help, but sometimes if it's too intense or it happened too long or too early on and your brain did change and you're not seeking help until later, like me, um, you might need medication to help like adjust the way your brain is producing those hormones and those signals and things like that, because it's at the point where you can have all the coping skills in the world, and if it's still not working, that might be a sign that there's a biological element to what's going on, and that you might need to take another step as far as like healing and relearning and things like that. um, and that's what I had to do to fix my friendships, because again, I had all the skills, I had the coping skills, I had the communication skills. I was very aware that the way I wanted to respond to people when I was personally just overwhelmed wasn't right, but at the same time I almost couldn't help but do it anyway. And I have several things contributing to that. Some of it's learned from my parents, some of it's from trauma, some of it's from the ADHD diagnosis that I just found out I had. I also have anxiety. Um, so there's a ton of stuff. Just let's make a mess. And it makes me good at my job because I know what it feels like from the inside. But at the same time, it took so many steps for me to just have one of the most basic parts of being a human down, and that's just being a good friend. It's not easy. It's not easy. I'm about to hit 30 in a couple of years. And and I'm just figuring this out. It's a little frustrating, but better late than never.
True.
And at least I have people that love me.
True.
I'm a lucky duck. My Joel's here. John's here. He followed us earlier. You're here. So, yeah. Thanks, guys, for putting up
Appreciate
with
it.
this hurricane.
So, is there anything else that you want to touch base on, or you want to leave this as the introduction?
I think this is a solid intro.
Yeah,
Your
we're
friend
going
wants
for an
to know the
hour.
story. We can. How about we stop recording and we can tell the story? We're just gonna edit this out of the YouTube video.
Okay. I mean, I could just leave it recording. I could cut it out.
Do I want recorded evidence?
The only thing is that there's gonna be a VOD of this regardless on Twitch, so we would have to delete that. But then Emilio won't see the introduction to everything from the get go.
So what I'm hearing is not tell the story and save it for later, or you guys can go have that discussion, and I don't
Or
have to be part
we
of it.
can save this for another day and find a better way to explain it.
That's fair, because I think a good chunk, like I really eventually in the future want to touch base on romantic relationships very specifically.
Yeah.
So we could drag that in, because I think like the disconnect that you and I had really should have been a sign that I had severe attachment and a whole lot of anxiety, because the way that day felt, oh my God, it felt like somebody stabbed me with a dagger that was pulled right, like when you're watching movies and they're like the blacksmith is like making the blade or whatever, and it's like red hot. It felt like somebody shoved that in my chest. Incredibly dramatic, but when you have anxiety and issues and
when you're younger too, I mean.
Yeah, and hormones, bro, come on.
Yep.
It just, nope, hot mess. Hot mess.
Yep.
So stay tuned for the super not that fun story of our life.
Way back in the day.
How exciting.
It's basically how we even started from the beginning, so that's like the early days. Early days.
Yeah, sure. Episode 2.
Maybe.
Dun, dun,
Episode 2.
how we've navigated this friendship and survived for 12
Yeah,
years.
we've actually been through quite a bit.
We have, yeah.
Real
I mean,
quick, Emilio has a question. I don't know if you could see
ooh,
it.
a 20-year-old. Can you give me a specific, like,
Yeah, what is it that you would like advice on
okay,
specifically?
I'm very interested. I love questions. I
Yes,
don't know how
same.
many people are still watching us, but I love
We got four
questions.
people in here.
Oh, hi. Yeah, lots of future episodes, hopefully weekly. Um,
Maybe even twice a week.
yeah, this guy over here will be popping in and out.
Who?
I'm just gonna be popping up here once a week because I gotta be a therapist in real life.
Oh,
So,
I mean, is this the new co-op podcast will be once a week, but I'll be
mhm,
streaming here and there on my own account.
yeah.
Um, which is if nobody's seen it yet.
We have an Instagram too. We're gonna be doing intros on the Instagram. So if you guys have stuff that pops up here and there, you could shoot us a DM and we could insert on the video too.
Yeah, that's my actual Twitch account. Well, I just posted on there. I'm just living,
Um,
haven't really been tripping on nothing, but just anything to expect, avoid, or look out for. I'll let Jazzy go first unless you don't have anything yet.
um, I mean, I wouldn't say anything like specifically. Like if you feel cool and you feel like, you're learning who you are and figuring out what you do and don't like that's pretty much what, at least for me, like that's what my early 20s were. And still are, right? Like everybody acts like you're supposed to be super grown up and have life all figured out by the time that you're in your 30s.
Like
Bro,
as
that
soon
is
as you turn
not,
18, it's like you need to. You're an
not the
adult.
case
Go to work. Get
for
it
not
done.
a single person I
Yeah.
know. That's not how real life works. Absolutely not. I mean, I would say like it's never too early to make sure you're taking care of yourself, right? I think that's probably the biggest thing. And just, I don't know, just have fun. Like, be aware of what you do and you don't like. You're going to experience a ton of stuff, and like we all
Hmm.
are for the rest of our lives, right? But I really hope that people get very comfortable just sticking up for themselves. If you don't like something, don't put up with it. If you do like something, like don't just like, oh, but people are gonna think this is weird if I pursue this or if I get into this. Like, who cares, dude? Like, we're lucky enough to be alive, first of all, right? Like, I know it's not easy all the time. Sometimes it feels like we're not lucky to be alive. I
Yeah.
understand that. But at the same time, like, best case scenario, we get like 80, 90 years on this planet, and like that's our one go around, and like that's it. Take advantage, just have fun. It doesn't have to be so serious. Like, it's not every decision is life and death, right? Like, as long as you're not going out like, oh, she said it's not life and death, so I'm just gonna drive with half my body out my car window. Sounds fun.
Yeah, it's
Like,
not
don't.
no YOLO situation.
We're not. No, we
Yeah.
don't. We don't get out of here, Drake, bro. YOLO.
Hmm.
But that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's super exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Congrats.
super congrats. Yeah, getting to go to college was probably one of the best decisions I made. Not even just for like the degree and I mean the paychecks, but just the experience of getting to go and start a whole new life by yourself, like because you get to be more independent and you get to be away from home depending on the situation. Like, I don't know if you're
Hmm.
going to be living at home and just commuting or living on campus or getting your own place. um, but essentially that's like your first taste of freedom and what adult life is going to look like. You've got to manage your own schedule, you got to get all your responsibilities taken care of, and it is a little intense. Um, yeah, yeah, I get that. Like feeling like you have to wait your turn and like being anxious for that new start, and it there's a lot of support, like just in general. So I wouldn't be too stressed out about anything. Like I don't know, I feel like I would focus on the exciting part of it because
Yeah.
challenges and hard things are going to pop up, right? Like that's just part of life. Um, but there's almost always somebody there to help like guide you through it, somebody who's open to having that talk, and as long as you're like, hey, like this came up, I don't know what to do about it, like somebody's there to help out. And you get to kind of start deciding who you want to be, and it's not, again, it's not crazy serious, it's not life and death. Like you can switch majors if you start something and you don't like it. Like just don't get stuck in something you don't like. That's my biggest piece of advice. Like, don't let yourself get stuck. Just enjoy the opportunity you have.
Yeah.
Life should be fun, you know?
Which is very, very true. Me personally, I've been more of the reserved kind, so I didn't go to a university or anything like that. I did a couple years of college and then dropped out. Um, at the time, I blame it on the relationship I was in. It was very, very toxic, um, and I couldn't focus on school at all anymore, so I just ended up dropping out. But the thing I do regret is not taking opportunities when they were presented to me. Um, so my advice to you would be, don't be afraid to take a chance. Um, Everything requires a risk. If you're not willing to take the risk, you're going to be stuck in the same spot. So, um, that's advice I wish I would have been aware of or knew of back then. Um, I was back then. I was more of a person that was more of being comfortable. As long as I was comfortable, I was good. But also that was the way I was taught. You want to make sure that you're always in a comfortable position. You don't want to ever be stressing. Um, but I wish I would have tackled life a little bit differently than that, because I would have been exposed to more things rather than just like going to a kickback or, oh, let's go out of town and go to the beach, like simple stuff. Um, you have an opportunity to go to a university, not just a college, a university, and literally change your life for the better. Obviously, you're going for what you want to go for. If for any reason that you decide maybe this isn't for me, just think about it. Um, don't make an immediate change. Just really think, like, is this just something I'm feeling like right now, just because I seen something, or do I really not want to do this at all anymore? Um, it's not good to make like a quick decision. Everything requires some thought and calculation. So, um, again, congrats on you going to university and doing something with your life. Another piece of advice that I do have to say, I don't know what it is, but every time it, you turn 25, you think that's it, like game over. 25 is not it. As she said, people live to 80 to 90 years old. I mean, once you hit 25, that's like what, 30%, not even 30% of your life, and you're gonna just cut everything out from there. Nah, you hit 30, life is still not over. You still got time. Oh, he sent a long message.
Oh, I don't get to see it.
Yeah, no, it's I gotta fix that, the
Yeah,
Streamlabs thing.
how dare you take this away from me?
Go
But
and
yeah,
resend it,
super.
bro, if you can. Make it a little more brief. Um, but yeah, that's something
I
I gotta
love it.
fix. It's our first stream today, so we gotta work out all the kinks and stuff like that. But
Listen to tech support. It's not me.
is it? Am I on your left or right side? Cause I'm on your.
You're on my left.
Yeah, you're also this way too.
Wherever he is, that's our tech support.
I'm wherever your left hand was at.
Not this. Not this. That way.
Yeah,
That's you?
yeah.
Okay. Well, fix it. But yeah, no. College is so fun. It's not like, again, and I felt guilty too. I switched my major and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm wasting my time." Like there's so much pressure in us. Like I have to know what I want to do because I can't be here longer than 4 years, like for me. Um it's not, there are people around you who are like, "I know what I'm here for. I know what I want to set out and I'm going to do it and I'm going to get it done and cool, this is the whole life planned out." I ran into that a lot. I feel like women run into that a lot too, um, because of that pressure to like get married and have kids and find a guy who's going to buy you a house and build your family by the time you're 26, blah, blah, blah. Um, so I felt a lot of that pressure to just like already know. Um, oh,
What happened?
I read his message. Mm, that was, I mean, that was kind of what I was talking about too. You know, was like as far as not knowing what you wanted. In all honesty, like very few people at that age, and even at this age, honestly, like very few people know what they want to do. Um, I thought everybody was like that because my two of my best friends at the time were like that. They knew what they wanted to do from the time that they were little and all the way through school, and they went to college and they got the degree they wanted and they got married and they had kids and all this stuff. And I was sitting there like, am I a failure? Like, am I the only person in the world who's going on? And it's not true. You know, everybody's timeline is different. So
Yeah.
don't hold yourself to somebody else's timeline. Don't compare yourself to people around you.
Ever. Don't
Don't
ever.
do it. It's a trap. It's a trap. I wish I had that Star Wars meme. Um, guys, you don't have to. Like, where does that pressure come from, right? Like, it's not real. It's
Mm,
not. People change jobs all the time. People
yep.
get different degrees all the time. So many people go to school and get a degree and then never use it because it has nothing to do with what they.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's definitely a marathon.
it is a marathon. It's a journey,
That's
and
still something I'm
maybe
trying
you'll
to
be
get a
like
hold
me.
of personally.
Yeah, you're still working. You are still working on it.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
very impatient, so I expect things to be like quick, and everything takes time.
yeah, it does, and it's okay that it takes time. My job found me. I never would have picked it. I never would have thought. In fact, I told myself I'm never going to be a social worker. No way. Yeah, well, I'm here. It found me. It just worked out, and like that's the cool thing. If I was trying to push for something I thought I wanted, and then it just never worked out, the universe is like, nah, son. And it's like, are you done yet? Like, can you calm down? Because here, this was here the whole time, and it would just work out perfectly. And I can say that I'm honestly one of the few people I know. And not that this is a good thing, you know, it actually makes me kind of sad, but I'm one of the only people I know that loves what they do. And again, I never would have picked it. I didn't know that this was where I belonged, and it found me. And I love what I do, and I'm great at what I do, and I've built awesome relationships. And again, like it's your journey. So just the biggest thing is like just again, don't get stuck somewhere you know you're not happy because you're going to pay all this money to get this degree, to get a job, to work at that job for who knows how long. Make sure it's worth it. Make sure it's something that you love. And if you need a break and you trust that you could take a break and then go back to it, like that's cool too, depending on what the situation is. I know when I finished my 4 year school, I couldn't do too much with my bachelor's degree because of the field I chose. And I took 2 years off to just sit on it. And like, I still didn't really know. But then one day, I can't sit here anymore. Like, I'm just going to pick something to get my master's in. I did it and it worked out. And again, like, my job found me, which was really cool because it was just smooth sailing. Like, it obviously it wasn't easy to get the degree, but
Yeah.
where I was meant to be was always there. And that sounds cheesy as heck. And I hear other people say that, and I'm like, how come my life doesn't work like that? Now I'm saying it out loud, and I'm like, wait a second, it did. Um, just, just do you, find you, try things out. You're gonna have a couple years of just general education classes anyway.
Hmm.
Um, you could take different electives, like see if you even like what they're teaching you, and ask your professors, like, hey, you know, what kind of jobs can you get with this degree? Like, and most universities too, or all of them, have a career center, so you can go in there and like, hey, what kind of jobs can I get with this degree? And sometimes you can find those companies and like shadow them too. I heard a lot of people when I was at college the first time say that they really wanted to be a therapist, and then they would go get internships and shadow therapists, and then they found out they hated it and like completely switched gears. um, I started with biology, could not survive the chemistry classes to save my life, and so I switched to psychology, and it came so naturally to me and it was so easy. And I got a little scared of the people like, oh my God, I shadowed a therapist and it was terrible and I hated it. And I was like, oh God, is that me? Um, but I
It's
just
your
stuck
own
with my gut.
experience.
Exactly. Yeah. And I followed my gut, and that's what I did. And there was a bunch, like just years where I was unsure. And I was still doing it anyway for some reason. And it just, it happened to work out. So do you enjoy, you know, just mess around, take random classes, talk to different people and like, hey, what are you studying? How'd you get into that? It's just like a playground almost.
Yeah,
It's a lot. It's a
you
lot
should take
different.
advantage of the opportunities you have, especially being as young as you are. I mean, we're young too. I'm 29, but I feel
Oh,
old as
you're
hell.
old.
um, but yeah,
Where's the
just
doctor at?
you have the tools and the options to literally do whatever you want to do. So I would explore. What's up, Casanova? Um, just explore, and I mean, if something sounds interesting, do it. Take the chance.
Yeah.
If it's a class or something, check it out. And as she said, interning or shadowing for whatever it is that you want to do is a good way for you to see how things are and be like, yeah, I'm feeling that. Or you might not even like it and may want to change your major or your minor. Just depends on what you want to do.
Yeah.
Oh man, you're a little bit late, Casanova. We're kind of shutting down a little sooner than usual on what we planned for. We
I
will
mean,
be
I
back. Our plan is to be on every Friday, so every Friday around 6 or so. Is this a call-in show? Not yet. Not yet. We do plan on doing that, just not yet.
That'll be cool.
Yeah.
The number at the bottom of the screen, dial now.
No, I think
Because
if
I mean,
anything, I'll probably
probably
do it from my own Discord on my stream. Um, we'll just have calls on there that we can have. I mean, you won't have a video, but we will be able to hear you. But we can do it that way. The only problem with that is we have to be able to trust the community to not be belligerent or try and ruin the stream or something like that. That's the only issue that I could find. But in due time, in due time.
I'm gonna sit here with a bat, just like crazy eyes.
But yeah, give us a follow, man. That way you'll see next time we go live. If there's anything that you want to talk about or you're curious to know about, we'll talk about it next stream. Um, Today's the premiere, so it's kind of like an introduction today. A little bit of an introduction, and then as time goes, we plan on hopefully growing this more and more, get a little community, um, just help people in general. There should be a VOD of this if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check and see if it actually saves as a VOD before I say that. Um, let's see.
I feel like I was misled if not. But yeah, no, we have an Instagram too. I'm gonna be keeping my eyes on that.
Yes, we do.
Popping in.
The Instagram, Twitter. What else is there? It was Instagram, Twitter, and
YouTube.
YouTube. YouTube, it's up, but we don't have any videos on it yet. This is the first one. But all those links are under the channel. So if you go to the channel, it'll have the Twitter, YouTube, and the Instagram on there. Just click it; it'll take you straight there. Keep in mind, everything's still brand new. We're just getting this thing going, so there's no content to look up yet. We do have some plans for Instagram. We just have to link up to get it out there. But yeah. Until then, I'm gonna tap in with y'all. Gotta finish some homework. Go for it, man. Again, good luck and congrats on that.
I wish I had confetti.
You can buy the little 99-cent ones.
Next time, no, because then I gotta clean it up.
I mean, that's what confetti is. You got to clean it up
I'm
regardless.
trying to vacuum it. I'll walk outside, shoot the confetti, and come back in.
And then
You're like,
come
oh,
back inside.
that's fine.
Sounds like a mission.
Yeah, if there's
Yeah.
anything that you guys want us to address, any topics you can think of, pop in on, I mean, really anything. I'm going to be keeping eyes on the Instagram. Um, can you put that in the chat real quick?
I can't put the Instagram in there, but it is on the channel.
Por
Um,
qué? Oh, okay.
Yeah, the channel has the links on there. It says like Instagram. You just click the
Got it.
Instagram one, it'll go straight to the
Yeah,
our Instagram page.
send us a message and we can talk about it.
She runs the Instagram. I run the streams, YouTube, and the Twitter. So if you have any questions that's more, I guess, experienced as far as that field goes, I'd go to Instagram, contact her. If you just have any questions as far as in general, I mean, you can contact either of us. I'll be easier to reach on Twitter, and she will be on Instagram. Heard about the flat Earth yet? Oh man, that is yeah.
Do I
That's
wanna
more of
know?
my field type of thing. We'll keep this as mental health and whatnot. This podcast, but on my streams, which will be the one that pops up right now. Hold up.
Do I
that
want to
account.
know? Do I want to? I kind of want to
Flat
know.
Earth.
but-
It's just it's just like what people believe, I guess.
Like flat earthers, like
Yeah.
B.O.B.
Yeah.
B.O.B. is a flat earther.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That
Um,
song Airplanes used to remind me of you because I listened to it on the way to grad night when we went to Disneyland. And then I found out B.O.B. was a flat earther, and I'm like, now I
changed
gotta
your whole
hate
mind?
whole.
Yeah, I don't know if you could see me in the chat, but Gray Noise in the chat. That's my own personal Twitch channel. Can you see it in there, Jess?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not popping up on this one. But yeah, that is my channel. And there we could talk about whatever. I mean,
Flat earthers.
that's literally my whole idea for my channel is totally flat earther. Yeah, he is. On my channel, it's literally talk about anything and everything. From flat earth to the hills all the way deep down in the ocean. Why is there a second layer of water in the ocean?
I want to talk about it.
Send a link on your phone. Wait, I'm in audio only. Oh, you can't see anything. I cannot send a link on your phone. How are you audio only, bro? How do you not see anything? You can't even see chat?
You listen to the sound of my voice. Kidding.
But it's like a cop that pulls you over. Hands behind your back, walk back to the sound of my voice.
If a cop said that to me, you know what? Apparently, there's this whole, like, I don't want to call it a turf war. It's like a rivalry between therapists and cops. I had no idea until I went to school. And I was like, one of my teachers was like, oh, social workers don't. And I'm like, you know, we work, like, with the same, we all work with humans, right? Shouldn't we fix this? Like, can we just, no? Okay. Just me. Anyway, I don't know where that came from.
There we
Don't
go.
pay attention to me.
I don't know if you could see whispers, but I just oh, 1 bar of service. Yeah, I've heard about that before. It sucks.
Oh,
Yeah, if you got my whisper, bro, just click on my name. It should pick up on my account. If I'm not mistaken. Actually, it doesn't work like that on the phone. Click info. That should work. But yeah, I think we'll go ahead and end the stream here. We will be back next Friday. That's the plan.
Woo!
So hopefully we see you guys come back. If not, I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, hopefully we see
My
you guys
friends
again.
better be here because I know, I don't know where all of you live, but I know
They they missed part of what you said. The audio cut out.
That's okay. I was threatening people. It's fine. It's probably cut out.
All right. Well, yeah. Until next time, peoples.
Bye.
Adios.
Thank you.
Knockout. You win.